Hello, team. Another line war cast. Check out this map first. Here you go. 3 gases on the left, a little bit of a city. 2 gases on the top, another city on this north island, a city here on this main island, and this is all connected. And a trade route on the right. Our 2 players today are Someone Said That My Nickname Sucks. We will refer to them as nickname in red and Haako in blue. Not really sure where Haako is going to spawn, but presumably it will be very close to this, as both players were trying to spawn in the middle for this gas. This clearly is identified as the most important gas for both players. 3 tanks immediately from nickname, all factories. We'll see what Haako decides to go with. Neither player will have seen each other at this point, right? So here's nickname's vision. As we can see, Hako's going for an airport and won't be able to see nickname yet either. But given the starting points, it might be, like Haako might assume that nickname's actually a little bit to the right here. Let's see what Hako's going for in their factories. It's just artillery for now, so it's 2 factory airport for Haako and 3 factory airport for nickname. This airport is very close to the water, but I don't think it's going to matter on this map, at least at the very beginning. There's no, like, if there wasn't land here, then maybe like a dock of Haako would be able to snipe this building, this airport, but I don't think it's gonna come into play, at least for like a large part of this game. Gas for Haako, we'll see what. Okay, it's helicopters. With one airport, it seems like that's what happens. It's either 2 airports for strikers or it's gonna be 1 airport for helicopters. And I really like this play. I think if you control helicopters well, they can be so good. They're very versatile. There's a lot of land on this map, so Haako is going to be able to move around these helicopters pretty well. Another barracks for Haako. Both players are probably going to be able to start seeing each other any second now. So here's Hako's vision. Here you go. And nickname at this point will also be able to see Haako. So contact has been made. 2 factories again with artillery, and let's see what nickname's going for. Is it going to be more tanks? Yes. So it's going to be 6 tanks. Nickname's gonna haul ass all the way up here to this island, or like rather this big part of the island, and I'd assume it's because nickname thinks Haako is up here. Or the other thing is you can't really get tanks into mountains and forests all that well. Tanks move very slowly through these things. You can see that there's a tooltip here, right, about how much slower your units move through mountains and forests. And helicopters, thankfully for Haako, are one of the best things you can build against tanks. And with some decent body blocking on the infantry and then keeping the helicopters in decent position, this should do very little. I think the best that Nickname can do at this point is get by all these units and then get into the open field to the north. But Nickname wants to fight, and actually Nickname's gonna be able to overwhelm Haako at this point. This artillery piece isn't gonna be able to do anything against this much stuff. Let's see what's going on in the back. Nothing quite yet, no developments, no new infrastructure. Second airport for Haako. And I wonder if it's going into strikers. No, still helicopters for now. And I'm really interested to see if there's more helicopters, like legitimately, not because I know of other builds or something, but it's like I sometimes open in my games with this where I'll open like a few helicopters, and then it's always a question for me like, when is too many helicopters and when to go strikers? Still helicopters for Haako though, and with a full thing of gas, I mean, these helicopters are going to do a ton of work because Nickname doesn't have SAMs yet. Let's look at what Nickname's doing. Another few tanks. This is, by the way, from the tournament. The Q2 2022 tournament. This was in one of the final rounds, I believe. So let's look at the econ. 368 for Nickname, who's about to run out of gas, and 380 for Haako. So Nickname running out of gas is kind of sad for those tanks. Although at this point the gas is up, so Nickname should, yeah, okay, Nickname can actually keep running 6 tanks. Totally fine. My apologies. This is an enormous moment in the game, because if Nickname can get on these production facilities, which will be a tough thing to do given that there's 2 helicopters still flying around, it's going to be enormous. Like, Haako will be in potentially some trouble. Nickname's own airport showing up now with 1 helicopter, which is just huge to, deflect this push that Haako could go for while these tanks are stuck in this forest. And at this point they're out of gas. I guess the answer is this many hasted tank. No, none of these tanks are hasted, so it's just 6 tanks and a helicopter Rather, I guess 9 tanks in the back. And Nickname's still going for more tanks. And if Nickname had a second gas here, it'd just be so... Yeah, okay, so Nickname's going for a second gas, but imagine if this gas wasn't a problem. I mean, I feel like this game would not be over by any means, but certainly Nickname would already be on the factory. And with 3 helicopters, for sure this barracks is going to go down. But, like, the helicopters are going to be able to clean up the rest of the tanks before they do too much damage. Maybe Nickname can get this factory, but with a gas problem, I'm not sure if this is going to be possible. Let's look at the income, 464 for Haako and 428 for Nickname. So relatively close. And really, we just need to watch this game develop. I mean, these tanks aren't going to be able to get past this one tank and helicopter just because of this huge gas problem at the moment for Nickname. It's hard to manage, it's hard to pull off, it's a lot of tanks. I'm excited for the new patches. Like, Nickname's already called tank meta, so I'm interested to see how that plays out, because I mean, tanks are very strong, and the reason that in the new patch, one of the reasons in the new patch they're going to be better is because strikers and helicopters have their missiles. These missiles they're going to shut out, they're getting them nerfed against ground units. Although that might be totally wrong. It might be that infantry, they're getting nerfed against infantry, so, you know, take that for what you will. Either way, they're getting nerfed against infantry, so you would build less strikers and helicopters to deal with these tanks. With 2 gases now, I really feel like Nickname must have enough. Like, those tanks in the forest got picked off. So now the Nickname's going to be able to drive these tanks around, especially now that these helicopters are getting owned by this one Sam in the forest that Nickname can't see, right? Like, we can look on Nickname's vision. They can hear it, but they can't see necessarily that this helicopter is getting the crap kicked out of it by a Sam in the forest. So Nickname's going to go clear that. At the moment, we can see that there's a barracks in the back for Nickname. This is really going to help capture all that open field. Infantry move the quickest in open field. And infantry are the most effective unit to cap, cost-effective unit to cap, so that'll be a huge help. This is going to ultimately be cleaned up for Haako, because with 5 helicopters, that is enough. That is the magic number, I believe, and Nickname knows it, and Nickname is running at this point. Haako hasn't really done any expanding to the top, like, little landmass, which would actually be huge. I can understand why not, though, because Haako's, you know, this has felt relatively aggressive. Let's look at Haako's vision. I mean, they haven't seen any of the factories yet. They don't know exactly where Nickname is, but it's clearly got to be in here with these 2 gases, given how quick off the start of the game that Haako saw Nickname. Haako's followed up with a 3rd factory, which is good for a push. And yeah, Haako definitely has the intention to take this land. We can see that the barracks is going to start pumping out units. Still going on or helicopters, pardon me. Although the airports aren't even building anything for the moment. Dock for Nickname, what I feel like this is going to do is go across. I feel like it's probably going to be going across like a transport boat. But let's see what Nickname builds as a follow-up. And with this many helicopters, it's a perfect time for 3 SAMs to pop. Unfortunately for Nickname, all the tanks got picked up, because imagine how cool it'd be if Nickname had like a reserve of tanks. 7 helicopters is a lot of helicopters. Maybe 2 helicopters will go down here if the SAMs get good RNG on what helicopters are close. Okay, so 2, probably not 3. In the new patch, SAMs and missile boats get 1 more range to those missiles. The missiles themselves don't do as much DPS as the firecracker machine gun noise that we were hearing, but nonetheless, these SAMs will be better against helicopters, and that's why helicopters tentatively are going to get an HP bonus, like a little bit of a buff. Not by much, but to kind of counteract that, you know, SAM range. We have interceptors for Nickname. These could shred helicopters. We'll see if that comes into play. And all Nickname, I mean, really, as an interceptor player, you have to make sure you don't get hit by SAMs. That sounds obvious, and that sounds like the name of the game for planes always, but especially with interceptors, you really want to be just having them fight air-to-air units, not by Sam's. They will do a great job. They would trade efficiently in that case. But otherwise, they're going to be, you know, it's very hard to control. Make sure you keep them alive. Nickname is starting to transfer some units up top, so this is exactly what that dock is for. And 3 more tanks on the way. I like that Nickname keeps going back to tanks because I think there's a lot of promise in that. I think there could be a lot of promise in it, and this big open field is just so good for tanks. This is a decent push from Haako. I don't know. It could actually maybe do a little bit of damage because there's no real artillery, and the remaining artillery that will defend this base for Nickname is actually about to go across the pass. So really, it's only 1 helicopter and 5 SAMs and soon to be 3 tanks to defend this. And it must be helicopter interceptor, which is a very common unit choice, like unit pairing in the airport rather. 512 income for Nickname. 596 for Haako. So Haako's doing a great job, especially as Haako's able to get to this northern little island. I mean, of course, there's artillery here, pardon me, but Haako still has like a decent amount of helicopters that could be transferred to the north. The noise that we just heard is a town somewhere. Yeah, here we go. Haako has made a town in here, and really, Haako has this great trade route. So the way these things work is that once you get ports and the towns, like, so you build this town and then you build a port in front of it, and then the port will generate boats. And it will trade with the other ports on this dotted line. And once you get enough boats, and once that trade route becomes saturated, it's worth 10 tiles worth of income. So as you can imagine, I mean, this is like 20 tiles potentially full of, like, income worth. But Nickname has all of this in the back. So economy-wise, I think both players have a pretty decent chance to get quite a bit, especially if Nickname takes the city up top, at the top left. Let's see what happens here with Haako, because going into the mountains is always scary. Like, if you look at Haako's vision, Haako can't quite see everything. Here comes the first buildings into view. If you can get into the mountains, I mean, the same kind of applies for Nickname, but Nickname has a lot of units around it, so Nickname might even just be able to pick this up. Just with 5 tanks. Because it's only 5 artillery pieces and like 2 infantry. The interceptors are going to do a great job against these helicopters. They're probably going to even kill both of them. Because there's the SAMs for Haako are unfortunately a little bit out of position. Not even out of position, but like unfortunately the action's all happening right here. Yeah, these interceptors for sure get 2 helicopters. And then all the artillery dies. Good tank run by Haako. This is a really good move. I mean, unfortunately for Haako, there's like decent defense here. Yeah, Haako loses 2 helicopters for sure. That was interesting though. I thought the interceptors would kill it quicker. This is a great run to this gas by Haako, because if there was nothing here, if there was no infantry, Haako would just snipe this gas right now, and that'd be enormous. But Nickname already had positioning here. Haako's gonna have to go around, maybe try to keep microing this. Let's see this. Where are they going? Okay, they're just going by around the thing, which makes a lot of sense. The noise we just heard there is this industry in the back, and I like that Haako's ecoing here. I mean, general knowledge dictates to eco once there's no more land to cap, which, you know, there is that, but I think you can also be ultra greedy by just going for industry at this point. There's something to be said about just making a barracks up in the top of the island, or like that north island, try to cap more. Potentially that's the play, but I mean, this just looks too good, and this is very safe, extraordinarily safe eco to take. There's no way that's going to be in trouble. Haako knows that they're playing against Nickname, and Nickname is notorious for commando use to get behind enemy lines, but even then, I mean, this is the back right of the map. Okay, so 3 helicopters attacking 2 SAMs, and now 2 interceptors. Shouldn't be a good trade for the helicopters. In fact, the helicopters might all be in trouble here. They will get 2 SAMs, so that's actually pretty good. That's pretty good, but unfortunately I don't think they're going to get out of this. 793 income for Haako, and 584 for Nickname. So Nickname is like very far behind at this point. This is becoming like considerable. 5 artillery pieces chilling in the middle, and this is another barracks for Haako. Something that should be noticed in the new patch, barracks are going to become presumably more prevalent than they already are because infantry is going to move uh, zero 0.3 quicker. Like, this is stupid unit of measurement. I'm giving you like some relative amount. Either way, the infantry will look as if they're like almost running. When infantry haste move, you know how quick that is? It feels almost as quick as that. 2 barracks now for nickname on this landmass. That's going to help cap all this open field. As we were talking about before, infantry is like the best thing to use here for capping efficiency. And I like that all these these artillery pieces are going down to this gas because Haako on that run by, you know, remembered of course that there are infantry around it. So the artillery showing up with a bunch of artillery would have killed them. I guess this is actually just to get a better angle on this mountain. That does make a lot of sense. Too. I mean, we can see how these tanks trade. And there's no air support anymore on the bottom for Haako. And I think it's kind of okay because Nickname only has 3 factories and Haako has 3 factories. I mean, the Nickname's going to push this back, I guess. Yeah. But I don't think Hako's going to lose anything, especially with these tanks kind of chilling. I don't know. This was clearly good for Nickname, though. Like, let's take a look at the econ again. 875 for Haako and 668 for Nickname. And Nickname is starting to expand quicker in the back, and we'll start getting this top left island. Maybe even be able to kind of do a soft push here. Potentially could get the barracks. It's very important to keep, like, choppers alive like this. And they will get out. I mean, they just get so much value as long as they're not getting owned by SAMs. Hard to use though. I mean, there's a gazillion things happening in this game. This is a whole battle in itself. The missile ships are going to do fantastic against helicopters. Missile ships do the most DPS to air units in the game. Here's Haako building a factory. I like this to beef up the northern side of it. Potentially even go for SAMs really when it comes down to it, because Haako doesn't really have coverage up there. Nickname's able to use this dock as a little bit of, like, you know, SAMs by making missile boats, which are huge. Haako doesn't really have the same luxury. So I was totally wrong about saying that these tanks wouldn't be able to get this barracks. They definitely are, and in fact at this point they might even be able to get another barracks. Like, Haako kind of needs to deal with this lest these tanks start running through the mountains. There's only 2 helicopters on the bottom anymore. Interceptors really are here to just fend off helicopters. There's no way that these, like, interceptors don't do a lot of damage to ground units, just shooting at them with the cannon. So here's the first town, second town on the way, a third town even for Haako. Which on the one hand, I love the super aggressive macroing. But what it might do is it might give Nickname time to catch up, which sounds weird. I mean, Haako's still 200 in front. 200 economy in front. Yeah, I love this factory. Because now at this point, Haako for sure has more production on their side of the map than Nickname. Nickname's going for economy themselves, so, like, you know, catching up sort of, except Nickname is macroing on this top island with all this economy. I mean, this game's starting to heat up. Clearly a lot of stuff is going on. An interesting question here is whether Nickname's going to be able to hold this beachhead. And now that Haako has more production, building tanks of their own, I love this. Because, you know, Nickname really actually has the worst base to protect tanks in some ways. Just because the factories are kind of close to the base of the mountains. Like, the tanks don't have to go super deep into the mountains, whereas for Haako's base, Nickname's tanks would have to go all the way back here, right? And we saw earlier in the game how that they're very slow. This just looks like a meat grinder, but both players have kind of numbers that they probably will both want to keep going. These boats are doing a great job to block all these infantry from coming up. I don't know exactly how this works, like what's the best thing and if this is a good play. I think it's probably good for Nickname. Although over time I'd imagine this boat would get killed. putting way too much focus into that boat. I mean, there's other things that matter. And it looks like Haako's kind of getting the edge. Without artillery support, it's going to be hard for Nickname to hold that top island. This is a big tank battle. And you know, at this point, one of the, like, this helicopter is a huge difference maker for Nickname until the Sam shows up. But that, I mean, really, that helicopter is what swayed that battle. And here comes the interceptors for Nickname. This is a great sortie, especially since there's only one Sam. I mean, this isn't ideal. The interceptors still need to stay on top of the helicopters. It's just RNG if that happens. Because if the interceptors aren't lost at all, I mean, this is just great value for Nickname. Yeah, maybe one interceptor will go down. Let's check the income again. Haako at over 1K at this point. And yeah, Nickname started to catch up. I mean, Nickname's quick. Like, when there's an advantage, it has to be pushed. Really, because Nickname's now got the whole back left of the side, the side of the map, right? We could hear that there's another factory going down somewhere for Nickname right here. I really like this. I think that just beefs up the army. I mean, you can sense a little bit of danger from Haako if you're Nickname. A tiny bit, because this push is getting a little bit stronger every time. And with all this infrastructure there, you need to make sure that you don't start losing, you know, losing your production facilities. I'm interested to see what Nickname thinks about this and how this is going to get supported, because Haako's going to be able to clean it up, but maybe it doesn't matter. I like that Haako's building more production here, a factory and a barracks, and Nickname actually goes to build this. Can Nickname see it? Okay, so Nickname can see some production. I wonder if that's a reaction or if that's really just to stop this from happening. Nickname does not know about the sub pen. Not yet. There's not enough units here to grant that vision. And if these subs got out, I mean, one sub would really ruin the day of Nickname here. Because I think this is another missile boat. 6 tanks on this many SAMs, that would end the SAMs. That's why the SAMs are running. Here comes the big tank battle. I assume, yeah, exactly. Here comes the interceptors and the helicopters. Let's just do quick economy check again. 1055 for Nickname, 1130 for Haako. This one tank somehow is cut off. I mean, that's not a... Yeah, that's not going to work out for that tank. Here comes the sub. This sub I'm very interested to see. This could ruin Nickname's day on this little lake thing. That's the geographic term for it. Haako's not going to get, well, I mean, these are still just interceptors, so it doesn't really matter. The interceptors aren't going to do that much damage to the tanks at all. Yeah, see, these boats can't see it. If you actually look at Nickname's view, Nickname doesn't see this submarine. Nickname can only hear the submarine blasting this boat. Like, there you go. Who even knows? What do you do against this? How do you even see it? And over time, that one submarine is going to actually be able to clean up all these boats. I'm sure someone's looking at this. They're like, why are you... No one cares about the sub. Look at this. There's actually battles happening. I mean, Nickname is about to lose this beachhead. And clearly will lose this beachhead. I mean, there's no way that Nickname can defend this with this much production on this side of the map for Haako at this point. I was told this is an action-packed game, and it certainly is an action-packed game. I'm interested to see... I gotta see the top left of the map. Really. With 2 subs, I mean, Haako is gonna be able to start really messing up this, this supporting reinforcement boat. It's just gonna kill it so quick. Yeah, and here we go. So top left, Nickname's already starting to get economy here. This is a barracks that's gonna help out with capping all of this. Another town in the back. That's all the development there is right now. Both players on 2 gas, I think. Holy cow, where's Haako's second gas? Either way, both players have 2 gas, which is fine at this point. 3rd gases probably are going to come down relatively quickly. And Haako hasn't started building these ports yet. Probably will. If these 3 tanks can get around and kill a building, Nickname might actually be able to hold this. Well, even with this, I don't know. Maybe this works. I mean, this is a retreat move right through all these SAMs, which is still going to work out because the tanks are going to be able to kill SAMs pretty quickly. These subs are still just doing a phenomenal job. Love this run by Haako. The run by is not going to work, but it is a great move. Yeah, so these tanks are actually going to be able to snipe a building. That's the... So you can't transport tanks across to territory that you don't own. So you have to establish a beachhead first, but now that Nickname's able to get tanks across, this is just so strong. I am shocked that Nickname can hold this. You can see Haako is trying to get all these helicopters up north because Haako realizes, I suspect this may have caught Haako off guard because I thought this was totally fine. This looked like it was going to be an easy secure for Haako. This is a very interesting move. It's very smart. If you actually had enough infantry here, this creates a very natural like body block for these commandos, right? So that the commandos can't just run by. Okay, so this barracks was... It must have been killed, right? It was already up. And I'm really just looking with a silly expression on my face to try to figure out, can Haako group up enough stuff to actually get rid of this? These interceptors don't do a lot of damage to ground units. They're mostly just there to... I mean, they're there to get rid of the helicopters here. And with only one SAM, Nickname is going to be able to kill these helicopters over time. It's these subs that are so clutch for Haako. And let's check the income. 1161 for Nickname, 1154 for Haako. So Nickname is now in the lead economically. Although Haako is starting to build the trade routes, which is huge. This is so many tanks. Yeah, Haako's put down either... It must be a depot. I think it must be a depot. Yeah, it is a depot. With like this much storage and this much fuel. I personally like depots. I think they're cool. I know that there's differing opinions on them, but certainly if you aren't planning on using your gas units all the time, which maybe in general, like, you're supposed to be using them all the time, but if you don't, it's nice to save up fuel, and in the long run will actually save you money just by building 2 refineries and building a depot, as opposed to like building 3 or 4 refineries to keep that going. Haako wins this fight, and Haako's going to be able to push to the mountains. And this is great for Haako. I mean, these helicopters are able to see these subs and shoot at them because this intercept is granting vision. But really, yeah, 3 factories. This is the response from Nickname, because I think Nickname knows that this push is going to hurt. Losing this dock is super unfortunate, and somehow Nickname is still holding this back left. This city in the top left is coming online. Love this boat from Haako on the top. Well, I mean, Haako also knows that the top left has a city on it, so it's probably pretty important to get. So I don't know how Haako is going to be able to deal with Nickname already being there and how Haako is going to be able to dislodge that. We'll see how that goes. Surely with this many units, Haako cleans up at this point. Although, I mean, there's interceptors showing up, and this is a lot of units. And Haako has to go through a mountain. City already for Nickname. Let's see if Haako has any city themselves. Well, the trade route kind of counts as a city. Both a city, which is all the skyscrapers, of course, a city and a trade route count for the same amount of economy, which is 10. Let's go big picture here for a second. Dock in this little bay for Haako, and Haako's really not going to be able to actually get through on the bottom. And Haako knows it, yeah, and Haako's backing up, which is definitely the right call. Luckily for Haako, I think they will still take the top. With those 2 SAMs up there, the interceptors aren't going to be able to keep going. And I don't think, although Haako has to pull back, I don't think Haako's at any risk of losing any infrastructure. I mean, really, Haako actually still has, what, 4 helicopters in the bottom? 5 helicopters or something in the bottom? Which is going to help out enormously against these tanks. We're about to see this. Because Nickname's, pardon me, SAMs are a little bit out of position in the back. And this many helicopters are going to shred super quick. The great thing for Nickname in this whole exchange is that Nickname actually has killed, what, 2 Sams already of Haako, which over time add up. I mean, this is just brutal. This is an absolute war. A line war, perhaps. Haako cleans up the top island, this little north island. The game, I think, in a lot of ways economically now revolves around this whole thing, this city. That's 10 whole industries, or 10 whole territories worth that Nickname's about to capture. Haako's coming to finish off this dock, and I love it. These tanks are going to be able to do nothing. Let's check the income. Almost 1,300 for Haako, and I mean almost 1,500 for Nickname. Another factory for Haako. I mean, really, with this much money, like, Nickname's has 1,500 and is able to defend this. I mean, all these factories that were put down, this is going to be an enormous push in a second if Nickname decides to do that. Nickname will lose this dock and will lose this main part, which might be a little bit concerning because there is a city on this main island thing or whatever part of the map. First trade route now for Haako is up, so these dockyards will start creating boats anytime now, merchant ships that will generate money when they trade between the different ports. Let's see where Nickname's going with these tanks. So I assume Nickname's going to try to actually get into the mountains here, or this was the play potentially. That noise. What is this noise? 2 docks. 2 more docks in the north for Nickname. That's got to make sense. Just because that northern sea is going to become so important. Clearly, Haako's done a like absolutely phenomenal job to body block these tanks and really get on top of them. Like, let's see. So it's just a bunch of like move commands, move circles with tanks and commandos to body block these tanks of Nickname. And I mean, Nickname gets nothing done with these. That was a great play. This is a lot of artillery pieces though, and this is still a decent amount of SAMs. Finally, this is coming into play that this airport is, I mean, it's getting killed by helicopters, so maybe it doesn't even matter that the boats aren't even shooting at it, it looks like. Either way, no more air for Nickname. Nickname has to rebuild 2 airports. I love this line across because, as we saw earlier, it just creates such a natural barrier for commandos, because Haako can't run commandos in the back part. This whole part of the map is safe for Nickname, really, without Haako doing some sort of, you know, like transport ship drop or commando drop with like transport jets from airports. 5 helicopters on the bottom are going to absolutely smash this artillery. This is wonderful. This is the best thing that can happen for Haako, as long as Haako doesn't just like int all these helicopters. It looks like they're all going to get out except for one. But let's look at the gas. Haako definitely needs to build a 3rd refinery. It's right here. I wonder if this is the one that Haako will end up grabbing. I don't know if this is the time. Like, I like this push by Nickname. I wonder what player is going to blink first, because I think both players think this is the time to kind of push a little bit. I mean, certainly Haako's not stopping. I think maybe Haako will in a second. This is a wonderful pick by Haako to use these helicopters and to try to get these commandos up. I mean, they're going to be able to kill that factory anyway, which is huge. Haako now sees these docks, and see, here's the landing. So it has to just be transport ships. I love that Haako sees the docks up in the north. It's just the gas question. How much gas does Nickname have? Nickname has tons. Ooh, this is starting to feel like it's crumbling a little bit for Haako. What's the money? 1388 for Haako and 1442 for Nickname. I wonder what Haako can do. Certainly getting rid of this navy is like a huge priority for Haako. Yeah, this is a great like island hop by Nickname. 2 barracks, potentially even getting like as a launching point to attack that southern island. Yeah, Haako's gone for this gas now. This one in the back. I think that's the best one that Haako can go for. Let's see, is there any eco? There's not quite any eco yet for Haako up here. I mean, this is a lot of factories to deal with. Like, what is this? So 5, 8, 11 factories, right? And Haako has 5. So it's 11 factories versus 5. And over time, it really adds up for Nickname. Nickname might be able to make a good push here. Although, as in with other RTS, as you get closer to your opponent's base, their reinforcements don't take as long to show up as yours do, right? Tanks. More tanks on the way for Nickname, and I love that Nickname keeps going back to this. Because it's, in fact, in a lot of ways, as this game, like, it gets into this sort of stage, tanks become more valuable. These SAMs, unfortunately, a little bit out of position. But, you know, when this big blob goes on, well then if tanks just run by it all, it could be devastating. Yeah, still 3 more tanks for Nickname. This is really good. The only problem about this is that these helicopters from Haako, if they had any gas, are going to be able to chip away at this. This is a great attempt by Haako to try to penetrate the defenses here and get in at this city. And taking out that dock at the north is actually pretty big for Haako. That's a pretty big win. That's another factory somewhere, and I think it's right here, right? It's certainly somewhere. I mean, this is going to be a huge drop in the north that we just saw that Nickname setting up on that North Island. And with another factory here, that just seems like Nickname knows that they're maxed. 1529 income. And Haako's at 1459, so that's actually kind of close. City already for Nickname in the top. And those boats trolling the coast, I mean, Haako's defending this because the, reinforcements don't take as long to get there, the whole deal. It's really just the gas question that Haako's now struggling with. And where is Haako's other gas? It's probably up here, like either in the water or up to the top right. Oh, this is close. We're 38 minutes in, and this is very close. Haako really just, as, gas. Still making helicopters, and I still love helicopters here. I mean, imagine if these helicopters all had gas. This would be so wild. You could get all the helicopters on the production. And one thing that Haako needs to watch out for is kind of re-shoving and then doing the exact same thing Nickname did, which was, you push for a bit, it goes well, then you get up to the buildings, and then you get pushed back. Because now 11 factories have been able to group up for Nickname. I mean, it is 11 factories. Double sub-pen for Nickname, which I love. Why not? I mean, look at the amount of money that Nickname has at this point. Haako's lucky that Haako saw this. With this many strikers, and it's just strikers coming out of these back airports for Nickname, that's very strong. Strikers do a great job to be like a protecting force of your coastline. Just because of the range that they get. I mean, like they can take out this. They're quick. Bombers, unfortunately, are slow, right? They're just a great defensive unit that has like so much versatility. And with this many strikers, 3 missile boats isn't even that much. This just could turn into a big arty SAM blob. Like, you could even start making a case for a nuke from either player, right? Because this is now just turning into such a build-up. Like, it's clearly like there's going to be a mass of units here. The question when building a nuke is, can you get value for that nuke? Is there going to be something you can feasibly nuke that's going to be able to pay for itself? And I think both players probably could see that this would be huge. So I'm excited to see who goes first on the nuke. Both these refineries are on fire. I don't know how either of them died. I can't imagine the infantry killed all the boats, but maybe. There's so much going on in this game. That's another airport for Nickname, and I want to guess it's in the top right. I mean, look at this. Look at all this. shredding of artillery by these helicopters is really just wild. This is what a flock of helicopters do. This is that mass, you know, critical mass of helicopters. And now if the helicopters get out before the SAM's taking them, it's kind of just RNG where the helicopters land a little bit. It's enormous value. Nickname must have lost the gas. Yeah, that's why that beeps. That missile boat will probably be able to kill that other gas, or at least, at the very least, hit it. Yeah, see, Haako still has a lot of helicopters. I mean, unfortunately, these SAMs are able to pick off at them and gonna get one more, maybe two more. Nickname's really doing a great job to kind of walk these SAMs in front. Yeah, see, that was a wild move. Making sure that those SAMs get the last hit on that helicopter to just chip away at one more. Nickname is able to hold this. These subs of Haako now need to get involved, and then Nickname's gonna be able to launch strikers to defend it. Airport, of course, though. Was it in the top right? No, it's not in the top right. I thought it was going to be here for these commandos to start dropping. It must be in the top. Yeah, okay, so it's in the north. And Haako's now sniped those two gases, which is a really good play by Haako. Because now Nickname's kind of in trouble. Not in trouble, but of course, like, Nickname now has to rebuild those airports. They can't go as hard just shooting strikers all the time. With this many units here, I don't know. Nickname obviously doesn't know about that dock on that island. But I mean, the subs are going to be able to figure out relatively quickly. This is a lot of helicopters. Although they're about to run into a full battery of SAMs. Yeah, so Haako turns them around, but now they're going to get RNG'd to like wherever they land. 2 helicopters or 3 helicopters, that's actually quite a bit. That is quite a bit to lose. Okay, nobody's going for a nuke yet. We need to check the economy. 1634 for Nickname. 1624 for Haako. This is extraordinarily close. This is a huge SAM blob on the left. Maybe over time Haako's gonna be able to hold this, especially with these helicopters coming to reinforce. If I can get rid of a lot of the SAMs of Nickname, that's gonna make it way easier for these helicopters to get value. Although the SAMs got a bunch of them last time. This is a big push. I mean, this is a meat grinder for sure on the left side for Haako. It's just too much artillery. With 3 helicopters, it's going to chip away. It's for sure good, but it's actually enough artillery that this isn't even going to kill it right away. Let's see what's going on in the rest of the map, because, okay, there's economy here for Haako. I love that they're boarding this. They're going to be, Nickname's going to be able to get commandos in on that economy of Haako, though. It's going to really depend to see, you know, like how Haako reacts to that, if they're able to be quick enough before those commandos of Nickname get on top of the town. I think that could be a huge, you know, momentum, not shifter potentially, but really seal the deal for Nickname if those commandos in the north are able to get a lot done. These helicopters are coming in clutch. 3 SAMs, though, in a pretty decent position. They might be able to start hitting these helicopters. I mean, really, these helicopters are the only reason that this bottom SAM blob hasn't just rolled over Haako at this point. At the very least, got to this barracks. I don't even know where these came from. I would have to watch the replay again to understand where they came from. It must have been a transport boat. How did Nickname get here? That's huge. I have no idea where that came from. And you know what? I feel like Haako doesn't either. There's so much going on in this game. I don't know how these players are keeping up to all this multitasking. 1 more helicopter left on the bottom for Haako. And Nickname still has a factory advantage, right? Like, Haako has 5 factories here. Nickname still has 11. A great nuke by Haako. Just a wonderful nuke. This has all the potential in the world to really change this game. These commanders are still going, actually. I wonder if Nickname's like split these things up. Yeah, it kind of looks like it in a lot of ways. Yeah, because there's 1 on each. This is going to take out all of Haako's gas. Now, lucky for Haako, in some way, they don't need a ton of gas because there's no more gas units to use. Yeah, these commandos, I mean, this is going to be a question really of if Haako can clean up these commandos, but that's so annoying and hard to deal with. There's now 2 groups of commandos knocking at all the gas save this one that Haako owns. And this is enough commandos that they're actually going to be able to kill stuff very quickly on that island. Hako's starting to divert units there. Unfortunately, Haako won't be able to push this because, again, like factory-wise, Nickname just has more. And 2 whole airports almost of strikers. I mean, that's a scary amount of stuff. Here we go. This has to work. It's going to be a good nuke. It's going to be a great nuke, but is it going to be enough? That was a great nuke. 3 factories, and I don't know the cost of the units that were killed. But yeah, Nickname immediately moves this artillery into position. Yep, and Haako knows it. This is the now or never point. Because with this many commandos in the back, Nickname, or pardon me, Haako has to start going interceptors to actually detect these commandos. That's how you know it's a bad thing. Right, these are the first interceptors that Haako's even been making in this game, and it's really just going to be to find these commandos in the forest. If Haako gets like a decent grouping with 3 factories taken out and all those units, Haako might be able to actually do a lot of damage here. This is awful for Haako. This has to be the scariest part of the game right now. And I don't know if Haako maybe like redirecting some of those units up here to fight the commandos, but that feels really weird because they're going to take so long to get there. Here comes the strikers for Nickname. They're getting a good run off. For Haako's sake, hopefully they run a lot into, you know, these SAMs in the back. And if the SAMs can get like 2 or 3, maybe 1 more plane, that would be ideal. Nickname still has a factory advantage, but they have a numbers disadvantage on the bottom. On the top of this mountain range, Nickname's doing a good job, but otherwise, Haako's actually pushing this. Haako's totally out of gas at this point, though, besides this. And I mean, like, they are for sure out of gas because there's so many different moving boats, right? Like all this stuff. Is Haako going? No, okay, Haako's not able to be on that island anymore. Well, that's how the rest of the map's looking. This is still looking pretty good for Haako, really. If Haako can somehow get clear of this artillery in the north, then they're on top of the production. And that might just be it. That might just be a very good nuke. I mean, there's 4 helicopters for Nickname at the top, and Nickname's done a great job to manage the gas. But this is a lot of stuff for Haako. This is for sure a lot of stuff for Haako here. Didn't even see it. Welcome to the channel where we don't even see nukes. I didn't even see that Nickname was builder 1. It makes a lot of sense. This is a very good nuke. This is a great counter nuke. So it didn't get as much production as Haako's nuke. But now with this many strikers, there's 1 SAM for Haako. Oh, and Haako's out of gas. Wow, this was a wild game. This is how Nickname gets you. Proxy 2 barracks on that little island, and then just keep transporting and reinforcing commandos. It's hard to keep up the multitask. Haako doesn't have enough money for another nuke. I don't think. Well, I'm wrong actually. It's almost done. Pardon me. I saw an empty launch pad. And I thought it was not enough money. Then I realized it was on Nickname too. 1487 income for Haako and almost 1700 for Nickname. Yeah, these commandos are now picking up, and that's a huge blow to it, right? Yeah. To Haako's economy. And I think this town's going to be the next to fall. I mean, it's really hard to be able to field these commando attacks at this point. There's all of this to deal with. Haako did a great job to... Or is that... No, these might be Nickname subs. Pardon me, I'm not sure whose subs those are. But with this group of commandos, there's still, I feel like there's still 2 commandos. Yeah, exactly. There's just like 1 hanging out here and 1 hanging out here. Finding all these commandos and getting rid of them in the mountains and the forest. For one thing, it takes a lot of units. And the question is, can Haako divert any units to actually deal with those commandos? On the north, potentially, maybe. But then you have to find all the commandos in a big open field, and they're stealth. Like, let's look at what Nickname's doing, or Haako's vision here, right? There's no commandos out here. You can't see any of them, but they're right here. So you have to group up around all your buildings. You have to go find them. You have to go check like all of this forest. So you actually need to run interceptors with your helicopters to be able to find the commandos, which costs gas, which has all been sniped. I mean, it's just impossible to deal with. I hope with all that ranting and rambling, we can understand just how difficult it will be for Haako to be able to clean this up. Like, in fact, at this point, if Haako comes back, I would be shocked. Unfortunately for Haako, they don't have enough energy to build this, to send this nuke. Nukes need 20 energy to launch. This is a great call. This is a great play. It might not work out just because Nickname has like a good positioning of artillery naturally. But I like that Haako's attempting to do this. Especially with all this air cover. I mean, there are 7 missile boats. Like, I love these landings. Really. Yeah, these 3 commandos, I mean, they're going to be able to take out that barracks. Luckily for Haako, they were able to kill the rest of the commandos down here. I'm really hoping Haako can find the gas to nuke again. Because Haako sees everything now. Okay, so that beep is Haako's getting rid of this building. I mean, this building has an upkeep, right? So we can see like structures are at like 186. Okay, and now it dropped to 165 for the upkeep for Haako. And that's because that submarine pen has upkeep as it's just existing, even if it's not building units. And Haako clearly realizes that they're running out of money. I wonder if there's a way Haako can come back at this point. I mean, this has just been a wild game. This is huge. Okay, so these are Haako subs. This is great use of the subs. And Haako does clean this up and is able to, like, you know, is going to be able to keep cleaning up these commandos, but I don't even know if they can defend this push. Yeah. I mean, this commando's just trolling by just hanging out, watching the gas. Okay, here we go for the nuke. Hitting the gas is great. Yeah, the gas in the airport, that's huge. Okay, so the gas does die. It doesn't really take out many units. I don't know. The whole art of understanding if a nuke was worth it or not is a very interesting question to deal with. Okay, so what is this counter nuke at? Missile, pardon me, I keep messing up the nomenclature. It's just at the launch pad. Okay, the launch pad doesn't go down though. Launch pad is fine. But I think this many artillery, Nickname's got it. Because again, I mean, Nickname still has 7 factories here. It's more factories than Haako has. Here comes the helicopters to clear up these commandos. My Nickname's first tanks are out on the factories up north. What a wild game. Open question, of course, is where did this commando come from? Early in the game. Or those handful of commandos that Nickname just showed up with. I have no idea where they could have come from. Potentially the island of the top north, or like the top right part of me. Okay, well see, this is kind of cute. There's little C4s that are on the launch pad. Pardon me, that was me clicking the spacebar button, which resets the commands on the bottom. Anyway, absolutely wonderful. Haako's dipped below 1,000 economy. Nickname's almost at 2k at this point. Nickname just pushes. But that was an absolutely wonderful game by both players. One of the most exciting games we've seen on the channel. And I think that's tough. I mean, I think Haako played really well. I'm wondering where There's a few big plays, I think. Nickname's nuke, but then it was really just these commandos. It's just the commando backstab was just enormous. Just good play. Well played by both players. It's a good pullback that these helicopters all get out. It's not going to matter at this point. It's just a numbers thing. I mean, Nickname could just plop down a bunch of more factories. They've already built another airport to, you know, to deal with that lost airport and that nuke earlier. All the trade routes for Haako have been killed, and with this many commandos, I think the commandos can actually just get rid of these artillery. I think they can just fight it straight up. We're not even gonna check the income. It's pretty over. Now at this point, Nickname's actually taking territory from Haako. Has already got rid of all the trade routes. Yeah, with that many commandos, it's gonna be fine. Oh, and unfortunately for Haako, Nickname actually does keep this. The tanks were enough. Gas in the water for Haako, I think that's a super fine play, especially because Haako has a good amount of subs, which is very clutch in that northern ocean. I mean, Haako definitely has control of that. It's this right side of the ocean that Haako will be able to get over here and stop this, but by that point, it's going to be too late, unfortunately. Nickname's building another nuke in the mountains. I mean, what do you do with this one? Do you just, like, leave this nuke sitting around? I guess. Missile sitting around, pardon me. This is a good garrison of units for Haako, so that other town's not going to go down. But ultimately, Nickname's going to push through the mountains, and then... yeah, Nickname's starting to eco this. A lot of tanks. I want to use more tanks. Tanks are a very fun unit. Obviously a cool unit. I'm very interested in I always ask like what people's favorite units are in this game. And who knows what metric that's by, just in general, what is a cool looking, sounding, feeling unit, whatever. Personal favorite? Interceptor. How can they not be? This is a very, I mean, now this is just commando hell. It was earlier. It still is. 4 tanks. What do we think wins? 4 tanks or 4 artillery and 5 infantry? I think the tanks win. I feel like this is what we're watching, by the way, at this point. I think the tanks are going to take this. And then the new patch, which should be coming out at some point, I think tanks would take this even more, right? Because artillery does less damage. Okay, see, I would have at least thought that the artillery would kill 1 tank at least. That's why I asked it like it was even a question. But apparently that's not a question. 4 artillery versus 4 artillery, 5 infantry versus 4 tanks. I mean, 1 tank doesn't even die. It's all good. Here come the interceptors along with the, I mean, the interceptors are going to be able to kill at least 1 plane. There's no real SAMs here for Nickname besides this 1. And luckily for Haako, they're able to launch these planes and defend this gas. But still, at this point, unfortunately, just too little too late. I mean, Nickname has the whole map. That's tough, though. That's a tough end for Haako. This is not the end Haako deserved. Yeah, airport here. That's definitely for transport jets to do commando drops. Over 2K for Nickname, under 900 for Haako. So there's a reason why Haako is going till the last breath here, and this is smart because this is a tournament game. You never give up. You never ever give up. You fight through the thing, you keep going. If you have a chance, you have a chance, and you keep playing. If you're interested in what tournament it was the Q2 2022 tournament. You can check out the Line War Discord for more information or to see what went on in that. There's different channels. I think John Joa actually has been streaming, or rather, pardon me, making YouTube videos for a lot of the finals, or the, you know, of the tournament. So if you just like Google John Joe Line War, I'm sure that will come up. We haven't done a ton. I think we've done a handful. This is certainly the most intense one we've done so far. So I mean, there's no like, this is a great play by Haako to just keep going. That's why Line War is a fun game. Two of the top players going at it. This is very fun to watch. So this might be the last video before the new patch. Who knows? We'll see. But the new patch will come out. Hopefully that'll be a lot of fun. Switch up the game, get a new meta. Either way, keep playing and watching Line War. I mean, Hako's, with this much air, Hako's gonna defend this. There's only one Sam here, but you can see on the left of the screen that there's actually 2 airports full of strikers from Nickname. So Nickname will start just clicking down buildings. There will be a Q3 2022 tournament, that's my understanding, so that would be in another few months. Looking forward to that action again. If you haven't checked out Line War, it's a very fun game. I would encourage you to do so. Check out the Discord, that will be a link in the description. And check out Twitch. People might be streaming Line War, you can come hang out and see what it's all about. Alright, there we go, that gas is dead. Looks so wild with the flames spinning around. That's the analysis. That's why you tune into the videos. So I can tell you, hey look, that flame's spinning around all weird. Isn't that crazy looking? Wow. Yeah, at this point, I mean, this would be the throw of throws. I could maybe throw this if I were in Nickname's position. Potentially. Yep. Can Haako even fly at this point? Okay, well not for much longer. Yep. GG. Very good game. Okay. Thank you so much, folks, for tuning in. I hope you're doing well. I hope you have a great night, day, evening, whatever it is for you. Enjoy. We'll see you around. Have fun. Peace.